The Jewish men have revealed themselves as terrorists. The Jewish men have revealed themselves being completely irresponsible and losing all of their civility and losing all of their credibility because of their attachment to the fake history of the imaginary and fictitious genocide of Jews in Europe during World War II. The Jewish men have revealed that they are terrorists. They were terrorizing the Germans, they were terrorizing the Scandinavians, and the Jewish men revealed themselves unprincipled, and they forgot about what Noam Chomsky tried to show them, which was that the narrative of the Holocaust was not firm ground, was not settled history. What did Noam Chomsky say that what should have been a signal? The old Polish Jew, I guess he's Polish and Jewish. The signal that Noam Chomsky gave was, you're not allowed to bring Jewish extremism to the level that you give up your civility in the context of academic freedom. You cannot beat up Robert Faurrison just because of your Jewish feelings, your extremist, radical, delusional Jewish political feelings about Holocaust denial. And Chomsky gave him a sign, and Chomsky might have gone radical himself after this, but who knows what Chomsky said after the issue with Robert Faurrison. You have to allow academic freedom. You can't just beat up Robert Faurrison. You can't threaten to beat up Robert Faurrison. So, most of the Jews, well, they seem to have forgotten that statement from one of their senior leaders. Don't threaten Robert Faurrison. He's allowed to speak his mind, or else you're undermining the academic freedom of don't bring force into the academic environment where people are supposed to be debating in college, supposed to be debating with words instead of fighting with their fists or weapons. So the Jewish radicals got fooled by the fake narrative of the imaginary genocide of Jews in Europe, that Hitler wasn't guilty of that. And I've explained Hitler, and I've explained that Hitler was what set off the British and the Anglo-American coalition was that Hitler was trying to take their place and to take a position of moral authority above them and to take their place as the leader of the white race and the leader of the Western society. What did Hitler get wrong? Well, I've explained it. There was no racial slavery of Africans. There's never been racial slavery of Jews in Egypt. There's never been racial slavery of Africans in Egypt. Africans were never racially enslaved by Arabs. Africans were never racially enslaved by Jews. Jews were never racially enslaved by Egyptians. And Africans were never racially enslaved by white people. And white people were never racially enslaved by Muslim Muslim Arabs. And the white people were never racially enslaved by Turks. I would call that an ethnic difference. There was no racial slavery ever in human history. What is it? The conditions of slavery are gender, the male gender. It's not racial. It's never been racial, because women of every race are above slavery. And the only criteria of slavery is the male gender. And it's not that women are to blame. Women are not to blame for the male gender slavery. It's the insistence of certain imperial powers on having no borders and escalating male competition by having no borders, no sanctuary. Nobody's allowed to say no to immigration. Nobody's allowed to say no to the corporate version of colonialism. Nobody's allowed to have a racial sanctuary. Nobody's allowed to. This is the agreement of the British Empire and the Roman Empire. And the Spanish Empire is the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire has most of its new acquisitions in Latin America. So the Roman Empire and the British Empire and the Arab Empire, these Caucasian empires all conveniently say, it's convenient for Caucasians, there can be no freedom to self-segregate into enclaves. So you cannot have a place like the Forbidden City where Westerners cannot barge in, or you cannot have a place in Africa which is for the racially pure blacks. You cannot have a place in anywhere in the world where you can say no to foreign journalists who might be instigators, or foreign businessmen who might begin to leverage corporate investment to penetrate and racially modify your society. So you have to accept the penetration of corporate neocolonialism, and you have to accept the penetration of radical and deceptive fake journalists with an agenda. You have to accept all manner of intruders into your society so that they can instigate. Why don't you accept this or that religion? Why don't you accept this or that corporation? Why don't you accept immigrants? So the international agreement against the freedom to self-segregate, that was made for the convenience of the Caucasians, and the Caucasians used reverse psychology to fool African Americans that they had more to gain than they had to lose by denouncing segregation. So Africa has a lot to lose by embracing the doctrine against the freedom of self-segregation. Africa has their original face, which they will gradually, which will be, if they don't do something about it, will be gradually phased out by a new face of Africa, a bearded face, where before the racially pure black African has minimal facial hair, and the racially pure Chinese man has minimal facial hair, and those original faces of Africa and China gradually would be phased out and replaced by a bearded face. Gradual racial encroachment. So that's for the convenience of Caucasians. And they fooled African Americans into thinking that apartheid and segregation were anti-African, but it's really for the convenience of Caucasians. So there was no racial slavery of Africans. There was no genocide of Jews in Europe. There's never been any Native Americans. The Spanish brought the Pacific Asians, most of them from the Philippines archipelago, and the other Americans of Pacific Asian heritage arrived through Siberia to Alaska, or Japan to Alaska, and down to California. So it's not to the benefit of the Chinese to have a bunch of Caucasians say, I'm Native American, I'm Native American, when they're like 95% Caucasian and then like 3% African and maybe 2% Pacific Asian, and they say that they're Native American, and they try to terrorize other Caucasians based on their claim of being Native American. And that's bad, and it doesn't help. It doesn't help to water down the racial definition of a Pacific Asian. The concept of a Native American is that they're a pure Pacific Asian. As a matter of fact, they have Spanish and they have African because they're not pure Pacific Asian. They're from a mixed race that was created in Manila, in the Philippines. Spanish, Chinese, and African mixed together in Manila. And then the Spanish brought them to Central America. They're good people. I would like to find a good woman from among them. However, I'm not committing myself to choose women of one nation or another, neither Spanish, Asian mestizo, nor an Arab, nor a South Asian, nor a white woman. I have to wait for the right woman maybe to find me. Anyway, the Jewish radicals, they're looking like they're Caucasian terrorists who are very angry at black people. A lot of people are angry at African Americans for good reasons. African Americans have been hyper aggressive with their fake racial slavery narrative. So that's all for this video. I'll have to make another.